She spent years living for everyone else, until one acceptance letter forced her to choose between the life she built and the person she'd forgotten she could be. Maya sat at her kitchen table that Sunday evening, staring at the laptop screen until her eyes burned. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic below. 3 coffee cups sat around her, all half empty and cold. A pile of unopened mail leaned against the fruit bowl, and the small plant on the windowsill had turned brown at the edges weeks ago. She was supposed to be preparing for Monday's meeting. Another presentation about a product she didn't care about. Another week of smiling and nodding and saying the right things to the right people. The words on the screen blurred together. She'd been staring at the same slide for 20 minutes. Her phone buzzed. It was James asking what time she'd be home from her parents' house. She looked at the phone for a long moment before typing back a quick reply. She wasn't at her parents' house. She'd told him that's where she was going, but instead she'd been sitting here alone all afternoon. She didn't know why she lied. It just seemed easier than explaining that she needed time away from him without actually going anywhere. Maya was 34 years old. She had a good job as a marketing manager at a decent company. She had a boyfriend of 5 years who wanted to marry her. She had an apartment in a nice neighborhood and friends who texted her funny memes. On paper, everything looked fine. But lately, something had been sitting heavy in her chest like a stone she couldn't cough up. She closed the laptop and rubbed her eyes. The apartment felt too small suddenly. She stood up and walked to the bedroom, opening the closet to put away some laundry. That's when she saw it. A cardboard box on the top shelf, dusty and forgotten. She pulled it down and sat on the bed. Inside were old journals from her 20s. She opened one randomly and started reading. The handwriting was hers, but the person who wrote those words felt like a stranger. This younger version of herself had plans. Real plans. She wanted to be a photographer. She wanted to travel to small villages and capture stories through her camera. She wanted to live in different countries and learn new languages and meet people who saw the world differently. Maya flipped through page after page. There were sketches of places she wanted to visit. Lists of photography techniques she wanted to learn. Names of galleries where she dreamed of showing her work someday. When had she stopped wanting these things? Or had she just stopped believing they were possible? She remembered the camera her grandmother had given her when she graduated college. It was expensive and beautiful, and Maya had promised she'd use it to build a portfolio. She looked around the bedroom. The camera was somewhere in this apartment, probably in another forgotten box, gathering dust just like these journals. The next morning, Maya got ready for work the same way she always did. Shower, coffee, the gray suit that made her look professional. She caught her reflection in the bathroom mirror while brushing her teeth. When had she started looking so tired? There were lines around her eyes that hadn't been there a year ago. Or maybe they had been and she just hadn't noticed. At the office, her coworker Rachel was already at her desk typing away. Rachel always arrived early, always stayed late, always volunteered for extra projects. Maya used to be like that too. Now she just felt exhausted all the time. The morning meeting dragged on. Her boss talked about quarterly targets and customer engagement metrics. Maya nodded at the right moments and wrote notes she'd never look at again. Across the table, Tom from sales made a joke and everyone laughed. Maya laughed too, even though she hadn't really heard what he said. After the meeting, she went back to her desk and opened her email. 237 unread messages. She started going through them one by one, deleting, filing, responding with brief professional sentences that said nothing real. Her phone rang. It was her mother. Maya almost didn't answer, but guilt made her pick up. "Hello, Mom." "Maya, sweetheart. I haven't heard from you in weeks. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Mom, just busy with work." "Too busy to call your mother?" Maya felt that familiar tightness in her throat. "I'm sorry. Things have been crazy here. Big project coming up." There was no big project. She just didn't have the energy to visit her parents' house and sit through dinner, while her mother asked when James was going to propose and her father talked about his golf game. She loved them, but being around them lately made her feel like she was suffocating. "Well, don't work too hard," her mother said. "You need to take care of yourself. And bring James by for dinner soon. We hardly see you anymore." "I will, Mom, I promise." Another lie. They came so easily now. That evening, James came home excited about a car part he'd found for his vintage restoration project. He talked about it over dinner, explaining technical details Maya didn't understand. She smiled and nodded, asking questions at the right moments. This was what she always did. She'd learned early in their relationship that James needed someone to listen to him talk about his cars. It made him happy, and making him happy seemed like the least she could do. "You're quiet tonight," he said, looking at her over his pasta. "Just tired from work. You're always tired lately." He said it like an accusation. "I know. I'm sorry." Why was she apologizing? She was tired. That was just a fact. After dinner, James went to the garage to work on his car. Maya cleaned up the kitchen, then sat on the couch with her laptop. She opened a browser and typed something she'd been thinking about all day. Photography workshops near me. Dozens of results appeared. Weekend classes, evening courses, online tutorials. She clicked through several, reading descriptions, looking at prices. One caught her eye. A 6-week beginner course starting next month. Tuesday evenings. It would mean telling James she couldn't have dinner with him on Tuesdays. He wouldn't like that. He had specific ideas about their routine. Monday was leftover night. Tuesday they cooked together. Wednesday was his poker night. Thursday was date night, though they usually just watched TV. Friday they went to his friend Dave's house. Saturday was errand day. Sunday was meal prep day. Maya closed the laptop without signing up for the class. Maybe next time. But that night, lying in bed next to James while he snored softly, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about those journals, about the person she used to be, about the camera sitting unused in some box, about how she couldn't remember the last time she'd done something just because she wanted to, not because someone else expected it. She thought about work and how she'd been doing the same job for 6 years. She thought about James and how they'd been together for 5 years, but she still couldn't imagine marrying him. She thought about her small apartment and her small life and how everything felt like it was getting smaller every day, pressing in on her until there was barely room to breathe. Somewhere around 3 in the morning, a thought came to her that made her heart beat faster. What if she just left? Not forever, just for a day. What if she called in sick to work and didn't tell anyone where she was going and just drove somewhere? Anywhere with a camera and took pictures of whatever she wanted. The thought scared her and thrilled her at the same time. When had doing something for herself become such a radical idea? Maya stared at the ceiling in the dark and listened to James breathing beside her. Tomorrow she would wake up and go to work and come home and make dinner and pretend everything was fine. Because that's what she always did. That's what everyone expected. But that stone in her chest felt heavier than ever. And Maya was starting to realize something that frightened her more than anything else. She wasn't living her life. She was just going through the motions day after day, waiting for something to change, waiting for permission to want something different, waiting for someone to tell her it was okay to be unhappy. And the worst part? She'd been waiting so long, she'd almost forgotten what she was waiting for. 2 weeks passed and Maya couldn't shake the feeling. It followed her everywhere like a shadow she couldn't lose. She found herself doing strange things. Standing in the shower too long, just staring at the tiles. Sitting in her car in the parking lot after work, not wanting to go inside. Taking the long way home and driving past places she used to go when she first moved to the city. On Thursday evening, her best friend Lisa called. There was an art show opening Friday night and Lisa had paintings in it. Would Maya come? Maya almost said no. James wouldn't want to go and she usually just did whatever he wanted on Friday nights, but something made her pause. Yes, she heard herself say. I'll be there. Really? That's great. I thought you'd be busy. I'll make it work. When she told James, he frowned. But Friday is Dave's barbecue. We already said we'd go. You can still go. I need to support Lisa. You're choosing some art show over our friends? They weren't really her friends. They were his friends. But Maya didn't say that. It's important to Lisa. I haven't seen her in months. James shook his head and went back to his phone. The conversation was over. Friday evening, Maya stood in a small gallery downtown. The walls were covered with bright, bold paintings. Lisa's work was easy to spot. She painted scenes from everyday life but somehow made them feel magical. A woman reading on a park bench. Kids playing in a fountain. An elderly couple holding hands on a street corner. Lisa spotted Maya and rushed over, pulling her into a hug. You came! I can't believe you actually came. Of course I came. I know things have been busy for you. Lisa held her at arm's length, studying her face. You look different. Different how? I don't know. Tired maybe? Are you okay? Maya opened her mouth to say yes, I'm fine, like she always did. But standing there, surrounded by Lisa's beautiful art, Something cracked inside her. "No," she whispered. "I don't think I am." They found a quiet corner. Maya told her everything. About the journals. About feeling stuck. About going through the motions every day. About not recognizing herself anymore. Lisa listened without interrupting, her hand resting on Maya's arm. "How long have you felt like this?" Lisa asked. "I don't know. A year maybe? Maybe longer. It happened so slowly I didn't notice." "What do you want, Maya? If you could do anything, what would it be?" The question hung in the air. What did she want? She'd spent so long doing what everyone else wanted that her own desires had become foreign. "I want to take pictures," Maya said finally. "Real pictures. Not just phone snapshots. I want to go places and capture moments and create something that matters. I want to feel excited about my life instead of just enduring it." Lisa squeezed her hand. "So why don't you?" "It's not that simple. I have responsibilities. A job, James. I can't just—" "Why not?" Maya didn't have an answer. That weekend, Maya found her old camera. It took an hour of searching, but she finally discovered it in a box under the guest bed. She charged the battery and took it for a walk around her neighborhood. At first, she felt self-conscious, like people were watching her. But gradually, she forgot about everything except what she saw through the lens. She photographed an old man feeding pigeons in the park. A child's forgotten toy on a bench. Shadows falling across a brick wall. Light filtering through tree leaves. For 2 hours, she walked and clicked and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Joy, pure, simple joy. When she got home, James asked where she'd been. She showed him the camera and tried to explain, but he just shrugged. "That's nice, babe. Did you get stuff for dinner?" She hadn't. She'd forgotten all about dinner. At work Monday, Maya's boss called her into his office. There was a promotion opportunity. Senior marketing manager. Better pay. More responsibility. But here was the catch. The position was at their branch in another city. 3 hours away. She'd have to relocate. "Think about it," her boss said. "You've got a week to decide. This is a big opportunity, Maya. Don't let it slip away." Maya walked back to her desk in a daze. A week ago, she might have been excited. Now she just felt confused. Moving meant leaving James, leaving the apartment. Starting over. But wasn't that what part of her wanted? A chance to start fresh? That evening, she tried to talk to James about it. Not to ask permission, just to discuss it. To share this big decision with him. Move? Are you serious? He looked at her like she'd suggested flying to the moon. What about us? What about the house we were going to buy? We haven't even started looking at houses, but we will. We've talked about this. The plan is to save up and buy something next year. That was his plan. When had Maya agreed to it? She couldn't remember. "I just want to talk about it," she said. "Consider all the options, and there's nothing to consider. You're not moving 3 hours away. That's ridiculous. Tell them no." The conversation ended there. James went to work on his car. Maya sat alone in the living room, feeling that stone in her chest grow heavier. The next day at lunch, Maya sat in her car and did something she'd been avoiding. She opened a search engine and typed, "photography residency programs." She didn't even know why. She wasn't going to apply. She was just curious. One program caught her eye immediately. A 3-month residency in Portugal. Artists from around the world could apply. They'd provide housing, studio space, and mentorship. The focus was on documentary photography and storytelling. Maya read the description 3 times. Portugal. 3 months. Everything she'd been dreaming about. The application deadline was in 2 weeks. Her finger hovered over the close button. This was crazy. She had a job, a boyfriend, responsibilities. She couldn't just run off to Portugal for 3 months. What would people think? But what if she could? Maya saved the link and closed her browser. She wouldn't apply. It was just a nice dream. Nothing more. That night she couldn't sleep again. She lay in bed thinking about Portugal, about photography, about what her life might look like if she was brave enough to want something different. James snored beside her, completely unaware of the storm raging in her mind. Around midnight, Maya got up and went to the kitchen. She opened her laptop and pulled up that link again. Before she could overthink it, she clicked on the application button. The form wasn't that complicated. Basic information, a portfolio of 10 images, an essay about why she wanted to participate, references. Maya spent 3 hours that night working on it. She uploaded her best photos from the past few weeks. She wrote about rediscovering her passion for photography, about wanting to grow as an artist, about needing to challenge herself. At 3 in the morning, her cursor hovered over the submit button. This was the moment. If she clicked it, there was a chance they might accept her. And if they accepted her, she'd have to make a real choice. Stay in her comfortable, suffocating life, or take a leap into the unknown. Maya closed her eyes and clicked submit. Then she went back to bed, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might wake James. But he just kept snoring, completely unaware that his girlfriend had just done something that might change everything. The next 3 weeks were the strangest of Maya's life. On the outside, everything looked the same. She went to work. She came home. She made dinner with James and watched TV and did laundry on weekends. But inside, she felt like she was vibrating at a different frequency than everyone else. She checked her email obsessively, looking for a response from the residency program. Nothing came. Maybe they'd rejected her already. Maybe they got hundreds of applications from real photographers and laughed at hers. Part of her felt relieved at the thought. It would make everything simpler if the choice was taken away from her. But another part of her, a part that was getting louder every day, felt desperate for them to say yes. She started having dreams about Portugal, walking through narrow cobblestone streets with her camera, sitting in cafes and talking to other artists, creating something real and meaningful. At work, things got worse. Her boss kept asking about the promotion. Maya kept saying she needed more time to decide. Finally, he pulled her aside and said if she didn't want it, they'd give it to someone else. The deadline was Thursday night. Maya had dinner with her mother. Just the two of them, which was rare. They sat in a quiet restaurant, and her mother talked about the neighbors and the church fundraiser and how Maya's father's back was acting up again. Maya barely heard any of it. She was somewhere else entirely, thinking about the email that still hadn't come. Maya, are you listening to me? Sorry, Mom, what were you saying? Her mother put down her fork and looked at her with that expression mothers have, the one that sees right through you. What's wrong? Nothing. I'm fine. You're not fine. I've known you for 34 years. Tell me what's wrong. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She didn't know where they came from. Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Her mother was quiet for a long moment. What do you mean? Like you made all these choices that seemed right at the time, but now you look around and nothing feels like yours. Nothing feels like you. Is this about James? It's about everything. Work, James, this whole life I've built. I don't know if any of it is what I actually want or if I just went along with what everyone expected. Her mother reached across the table and took her hand. Maya, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. She took a deep breath. Before I married your father, I had a chance to study art in New York, a full scholarship to a prestigious program. I was so excited. But my parents thought it was foolish. They said art wasn't a real career. They said I should stay home and find a nice man and build a stable life. Maya stared at her mother. She'd never heard this before. So I turned it down. Her mother continued. I stayed. I met your father. Got married. Had you and your brother. And I love my life, Maya. I really do. I love my family. But sometimes late at night I wonder who I might have been if I'd gotten on that train to New York. I wonder what paintings I might have created. What life I might have lived. Mom, I had no idea and I never talked about it. What was the point? The choice was made. Her mother squeezed her hand tighter. But you're not me. You don't have to make the same mistakes. If there's something you want, something real, don't let fear stop you. Don't let other people's expectations stop you. Because one day you'll be my age and you'll look back, and you don't want to spend your life wondering what if. Maya drove home with tears streaming down her face. All this time she thought her mother was happy, content. She'd used her parents as an example of a stable, normal life. But her mother had dreams too, dreams she'd given up. And now she was telling Maya not to do the same thing. When Maya got home, James was watching TV. She sat down next to him and for a moment she just looked at him. Really looked at him. He was a good man, kind, reliable, steady, but did she love him? Or did she just love the idea of having someone, the comfort of not being alone? James, can we talk? Can it wait? The game just started. No, it can't wait. He muted the TV and turned to her. What's wrong? I need to tell you something. I applied for a photography residency program. In Portugal, 3 months. His face went through several expressions. Confusion, disbelief, anger. You what? I applied. I haven't heard back yet. I might not even get in. But I needed to tell you. When were you going to mention this? Before or after you packed your bags? I'm telling you now. Portugal. For 3 months. You're just going to leave everything? Leave me? I don't know, maybe, if they accept me. James stood up. This is insane. You've lost your mind. First the camera thing, now this. What's next? You're going to quit your job and become a hippie? Why is wanting something for myself insane? Because it's not realistic, Maya. We have a life here. We have plans. You can't just throw it all away for some fantasy. What plans? Your plans? Did you ever ask me what I wanted? I thought you wanted what I wanted. We're supposed to be a team. Maya stood up too. A team means both people get a say. When was the last time you asked what I wanted? When was the last time you cared about my dreams? Your dreams? You're 34 years old. You're too old to be chasing dreams. The words hung in the air between them. Too old. Like there was an expiration date on wanting more from life. Like at some arbitrary age you were supposed to just give up and settle. Get out, Maya said quietly. What? Get out. This is my apartment. My name is on the lease. Get out. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. Get out. They stood there staring at each other. Finally, James grabbed his keys and wallet and walked out, slamming the door behind him. Maya sank onto the couch. Her whole body was shaking. She'd never done anything like that before. Never stood up to him. Never put herself first. It felt terrifying and liberating at the same time. Her phone buzzed. An email notification. Her hands trembled as she opened it. It was from the residency program. Dear Maya Chen, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted. She read the email 3 times before it sank in. They'd accepted her. They wanted her. They saw something in her photography that was worth nurturing. The residency started in 3 weeks. Maya sat alone in her apartment, phone in hand, and laughed. It was a slightly hysterical laugh, the kind that comes when your whole life falls apart and comes together at the same time. She had 3 weeks to decide. 3 weeks to choose between the comfortable life she knew and the unknown adventure that terrified her. 3 weeks to figure out who Maya Chen really was when she wasn't trying to be what everyone else wanted. For the first time in years, she had no idea what she was going to do, and somehow, that felt like freedom. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat on her couch with her laptop, reading the acceptance email over and over. Each time, the words felt more real and more impossible at the same time. James texted around midnight. I'm staying at Dave's. We'll talk tomorrow when you've calmed down. She almost laughed. He thought she needed to calm down. Like this was some emotional outburst she'd regret in the morning. He had no idea that she'd never felt clearer about anything in her life. The next morning at work, Maya sat in her cubicle staring at nothing. Her boss walked by and stopped. Maya, about that promotion. I need an answer by end of day. I'm not taking it, she said. What? The promotion? I'm not interested. He looked confused. But you said you were considering it. I was. Now I'm not. Someone else can have it. After he walked away, Rachel leaned over from the next cubicle. Are you okay? You just turned down a huge opportunity. I'm fine. I just realized it's not what I want. What do you want? Maya turned to look at her. Rachel had worked at this company for 12 years. She lived for quarterly reviews and performance bonuses. She probably couldn't imagine wanting anything else. I want to take pictures in Portugal, Maya said. Rachel blinked. What? Nothing. Never mind. But saying it out loud made it real. I want to take pictures in Portugal. Such a simple sentence. Such a massive truth. At lunch, Maya called her mother. She told her about the acceptance, about the fight with James, about turning down the promotion. Her mother was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I'm proud of you, even though I'm blowing up my whole life, especially because you're brave enough to blow up your whole life. That takes courage, Maya, real courage. I'm terrified. Good. If you weren't terrified, it wouldn't mean anything. That afternoon, Maya's boss called her into his office again. I heard from HR that you're resigning. Is that true? She hadn't submitted her resignation letter yet, but hearing him say it made the decision for her. Yes, I'm giving my 2 weeks' notice. Can I ask why? Did you get another offer? I got accepted to a photography residency in Portugal. He looked at her like she'd grown a second head. Photography? But you're a marketing manager. I know, but that's not who I want to be anymore. Walking out of his office, Maya felt like she was floating. She'd done it. She'd actually quit. No safety net, no backup plan. Just a one-way ticket to a country she'd never visited to pursue a dream she'd buried for years. The next few days were a blur. Maya started packing. She went through her closet and realized half her clothes weren't even hers. They were the person she'd been pretending to be. Professional blazers and pencil skirts she hated wearing. She donated most of it. James came by to collect his things. They didn't talk much. He moved around the apartment like a stranger, packing boxes, avoiding eye contact. When he was done, he stood at the door. "I hope you know what you're doing," he said. "I don't. But I'm doing it anyway. You're making a huge mistake, maybe, but it's my mistake to make." He left without saying goodbye. That night, Lisa came over with wine and takeout. They sat on the floor surrounded by half-packed boxes, and Maya told her everything. "This is incredible," Lisa said. "Scary as hell, but incredible. Do you think I'm crazy?" "Probably. But the best people usually are." Lisa raised her glass. To Maya, who finally stopped living someone else's life. They clinked glasses, and Maya felt tears on her cheeks. Happy tears this time. The next week, Maya told her coworkers she was leaving. Some were supportive. Others looked at her like she'd lost her mind. Tom from sales said, "You're throwing away your career for what? To take pictures?" She just smiled and said yes. On her last day of work, they threw her a small goodbye party. Cake in the conference room. A card everyone signed. Maya stood there looking at her colleagues. People she'd spent 40 hours a week with for years, and realized she barely knew them, and they barely knew her. She'd been a character she played at the office. Professional Maya who laughed at the right jokes and said the right things in meetings. Real Maya had been hiding the whole time. That weekend, she went to see her parents. Her father pulled her aside while her mother was making coffee. "Your mom told me about Portugal," he said. "Dad, I know you probably think I think it's wonderful." Maya stopped. "Really?" He smiled, and she saw sadness in his eyes. "Your mother told you about her art scholarship, didn't she?" "Yes, I've always felt guilty about that. I was the reason she stayed. Me and the expectations of what her life should look like. I robbed her of that dream. She chose to stay, Dad. Did she? Or did she just do what everyone expected?" He put his hand on her shoulder. "Don't make our mistakes, Maya. Go to Portugal. Take your pictures. Live your life while you still can. Because time moves faster than you think, and one day you wake up and you're 65 and wondering where it all went." Maya hugged him tight. "Thank you, Dad. Just promise me you'll send lots of photos. And not just tourist stuff. I want to see what you see through that camera. I promise." The last few days before departure passed in a strange mixture of panic and peace. Maya sold most of her furniture. She packed 2 suitcases and a backpack. Everything she owned that mattered fit into those 3 bags. It was terrifying and liberating. The night before her flight, she stood in her empty apartment. Bare walls. Echo of her footsteps. This place had been her home for 4 years, but it had never really felt like hers. It had been a stage where she performed the role of responsible adult with a normal life. Her phone buzzed. A text from James. "Good luck tomorrow. I hope you find whatever you're looking for." It wasn't angry. It wasn't bitter, just sad. Maya typed back, "Thank you. I hope you find happiness too." She meant it. That night, she lay on an air mattress in the empty bedroom and felt completely at peace. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, she would step into a life she'd chosen for herself. Not because it was safe or expected or comfortable, but because it was hers. She thought about the old journals, the dreams she'd written down so many years ago. She thought about her mother's lost art scholarship, her father's admission of regret. She thought about all the people who spend their whole lives waiting for permission to want something more. Maya wasn't waiting anymore. She closed her eyes and smiled. Tomorrow she would close the door on everything she'd known, and then she would step forward into whatever came next. For the first time in years, she couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring. The airport was crowded that morning. Maya stood in the security line with her carry-on bag, watching families say goodbye, business people checking their phones, solo travelers like her heading off to unknown destinations. Her flight was in 3 hours. She'd gotten there early, needing the time to just sit and process what she was doing. At the gate, she found a seat by the window and watched planes take off. each one carrying people toward different lives. Her phone buzzed. Lisa had sent a message. "You've got this. Go show Portugal what Maya Chen can do." Then her mother. "I love you. Your father and I are so proud. Call when you land." And surprisingly, one from Rachel at work. "You inspired me to finally take that watercolor class I've been talking about for 5 years. Thank you." Maya smiled. She hadn't realized that choosing herself might give others permission to do the same. While waiting to board, she opened her camera and scrolled through the photos she'd taken over the past month. The old man with the pigeons, shadows on brick walls, her mother's hands wrapped around a coffee cup, her father's smile when she told him she was going, her empty apartment on the last day. Each photo was a moment, a choice, a step toward the person she was becoming. "Now boarding Group B," the gate agent announced. Maya stood up. This was it, the actual moment. Once she got on this plane, there was no pretending it wasn't happening. She was really leaving. Really doing this impossible, terrifying, wonderful thing. She walked down the jetway, found her seat, and buckled in. The man next to her nodded politely. "Business or pleasure?" he asked. "Neither," Maya said. "I'm going to learn how to see the world differently." He looked confused, but Maya didn't care. She put in her earbuds and closed her eyes as the plane pushed back from the gate. The flight was long. Maya slept in fits and starts, dreaming of places she'd never been. When she woke up, they were flying over the ocean. Nothing below but water and sky. She felt suspended between her old life and her new one. Portugal was bright and warm when she landed. The residency program had sent someone to pick her up. A woman named Rita who drove a tiny car and talked quickly in accented English. "You're going to love it here," Rita said. "The light is perfect for photography. And the people, they have such stories. You'll see." The residency was in a converted monastery outside a small coastal town, old stone buildings with arched windows, a courtyard with lemon trees, studios filled with artists from all over the world. Maya's room was small and simple. A bed, a desk, a window that looked out over red tile roofs toward the ocean. She unpacked her 2 suitcases and set up her camera equipment. Then she just sat on the bed for a long time looking around. This was home now. At least for 3 months. She'd done it. She'd actually done it. That evening, there was a welcome dinner for new residents. Maya met photographers from Brazil, painters from Sweden, sculptors from Japan. Everyone had stories. Everyone had left something behind to be here. She wasn't alone in her leap of faith. An older Portuguese man named Carlos spoke about the program. "This is a place for transformation," he said. "You come here as one person and you leave as someone new. Not because we change you, but because you finally have space to become who you really are." That night, lying in her small bed in a foreign country, Maya couldn't sleep. But it wasn't the anxious insomnia she'd known for years. It was the excited kind. The kind where your mind is too full of possibilities to rest. She got up and walked to the window. The town below was quiet. Streetlights glowing. The ocean a dark presence in the distance. She picked up her camera and took a photo. Just of that view. That moment. The first picture of her new life. Over the next week, Maya fell into a rhythm. Morning coffee in the courtyard. Studio time, workshops with visiting photographers. Afternoons exploring the town with her camera. Evenings comparing work with the other residents. She photographed everything. Fishermen mending nets. Old women hanging laundry on balconies. Children playing soccer in narrow streets. Sunlight on whitewashed walls. Shadows in medieval doorways. Each click of the shutter felt like a prayer. Like saying yes to the world.